How's it, cuz? It's time to Vala'au with me, Mr. Vala'au Dicky Chang. Join us as we meet your uncles, your aunties, your brothers, your sisters, your brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, neighbors, grandmother, all the Ohana. We'll take you to breathtaking places you've never been. Meet famous people you've never seen. Kick back and cruise, you know the ruse.
The day has to end. I'm so happy we made new friends. We'll meet tomorrow, sometime, same place. Looking forward to see your smiling face. Voila, the day has to end. I'm so happy we made new friends. We'll meet tomorrow, sometime, same place. Looking forward to see your smiling face. Voila, 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 voila.
Aloha Kauai, mahalo nui loa, and thank you for joining us this week in yet another exciting and informative episode of Vala'au. I'm Dicky Chang. Haole makahiki ho. Happy New Year. It is the year 2020, or soon to be. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be updating you on this past year, 2019's shearwaters season, our Save Our Shearwaters program. We'll have an opportunity to speak to the brand new coordinator, Molly Bash, as she tells about what this year's program was all about. We'll also have an opportunity to speak to our very dear friend, Valerie Taguma Kaneshiro. Now, Valerie Taguma Kaneshiro comes from the long line of Kaneshiros. Her husband, Derwin, of course, was the grandson of the original Kaneshiro that started the hog farm in Koloa and that is presently there in Omau. So we'll have an opportunity to chat with her. But first, as all traditions, Japanese style, they do the annual Mochi Pounding. Several years ago, we had an opportunity to catch up with the Morikawa family there in Lehue, and we had an opportunity to speak to Ray Morikawa and, of course, many of his family members to tell us about this tradition that we all know in Hawaii as Mochi Pounding here on our garden island in Kauai.
Well, the tradition goes back about 55 years, and it starts in Wainea, where we had family there, my wife's family actually. Uncle Yasu was one of them, the main person, and Jiang and Baba-san, his parents, were instrumental in showing us how everything is done. It's carrying on of a culture, Japanese culture and a New Year's culture, and getting the family together. You know, this is a big thing. So basically, this is why we do it. And of course, we share the mochi with family and friends.
You know, interestingly, when you say 55 years ago, that's when Hawaii technically became a state. So there were those that came before you, and obviously there are those presently now, like your granddaughter Raylene right now.
Mm-hmm.
I understand as a little kid running around with rubber boots,
Yes.
you did what some of these kids are doing right now. Tell us what you remember in the process.
Oh, the first memory I have is of Auntie Yoshi, and she would teach me how to, scoop the rice up, rinse the rice, make sure you pick out all of the dirty black pieces of rice. Nowadays, the rice is so clean, you don't really have to do that anymore. But back then, we used to pick out all the little bits of black rotten rice, and from there, we'd put it in the bucket and prep it and make it ready the rice to be cooked. So that's my earliest memory.
Excuse me. And so this process actually started for you last night.
Yes, the mochi process starts the night before, actually, with soaking the rice in the buckets so that it's ready for it's properly soaked and ready for pounding and cooking.
Now, what's interesting, I guess, because you've done this for so long, you kind of got it down to a science. Because when we looked at the buckets have to be clean, but you guys even weigh the buckets. It's like it has to be not too much or not too heavy, not too light. I mean, can you explain that process?
Yeah, usually the bucket weighs about a pound or so, maybe a pound and a half. And so with the bucket on the scale, it should be about 5.5 to 6 pounds. Usually we make one bucket and then ask the pounders, how was that bucket? Is it too big, too small? And then from there we can adjust.
So tell me a little bit, Mr. Morikawa. We have people pounding the mochi, I guess, or the rice, and you have somebody that twirls the mochi or adds water. I mean, sounds or seems like that's one of the key guys in this process.
Oh yeah, very important. Well, the rice, after it's cooked, actually it's steamed, is dumped into that usu. It's a stone bowl, solid rock granite, and they first mash it with the hammer. They just go around, and there's two of them. They mash it with the hammer, and then when it's sticky enough so that if you pound it, the rice won't fly out, then it's ready. But once the pounding starts, then there's a person on the side who turns it, because we ask them to pound basically in the middle of that usu, and so he has to bring the rice back into the middle, and then every so often turn it. And it may not look like a tough job, but it really is. You know, if you try it, your hands get really hot and get burned. So you have to be heat tolerant. It's very important.
Japanese will say abunai because sometimes with the slip of the hammer or something, you know what I mean? Like if you're not concentrating, I could just imagine somebody can get bust up pretty bad.
Yeah, because in the beginning, two people pound at the same time. And of course, the timing has to be right. They cannot go too fast or too slow. The timing has to be right, alternating. Otherwise, if the hammers bang, then they can easily hit the person there or the side of the usu and damage the hammer.
Now, my understanding that usu dates back to your early 55 years plus ago from the old Wainiha days.
Oh yeah, even prior to that. I don't know how far before that it goes, but it's very old.
Now, interestingly, when you talk to your granddad, something that is really true and dear to the Morikawa Ohana of everybody that pounds traditionally mochi, this Ohana or this family actually does something different that you folks don't even know if anybody else does it statewide. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so that is the mame mochi process, and it's the soybeans. So we have raw soybeans that we soak the night before so that it'll soak up all of the water and expand. And what we do is we take those expanded soybeans and put them at the bottom of the bucket to steam. And on top of that, we put the rice. And once that's steamed, it's put in the usu the same way, except it's not pounded. It's more mashed because you don't want to pound the soybeans too much. So it's a little bit more rough texture, but that's the mame mochi process.
So it looks like Grandma came in to join. Mrs. Morikawa, you got your Ohana over here, your family. You got a lot of roots. Can you, when you see a lot of the great-grandchildren or the grandchildren, what are they thinking about? Because as a youngster yourself, this is what you used to do as a kid way back when.
Well, we used to look forward to getting together and doing the mochi, but other than that, we never did much while growing up. We just played around. Now that we have to do it, we got to start from scratch and do it our way.
But it's pretty rewarding to see that the next generations
is take over. Yeah, that's right.
Now, Mr. Morikawa, you was talking a little bit about the mochi, but what you basically do is everybody comes here, you get 100 pounds plus or so of rice. People take what they make, but yet you stash a lot for different people in terms of they like to freeze them, and like Mrs. Senda, Judge Senda's wife, Judge Senda's mom, I should say, technically eats it all year round.
That's exactly true, Dickie. She's told me many times how much she appreciates that. And because of that, of course, we feel good about sharing that with her. But she prepares the mochi out of the freezer in so many different ways and enjoys it all year long. And of course, because of that, we like sharing it with her, because we always, you always feel good about sharing with people who appreciate whatever you give them.
Well, we just want to say happy holidays and happy New Year's, and thank you for allowing us to be here, because, for many of us, if local people are not accustomed to mochi pounding, I guess sometimes we see the mochi, then maybe we see a little bit bamboo, or maybe we might see some ironwood tree or tangerine, but we don't really realize this process that came from the forefathers from Japan way back when. So it's a tradition that had to be learned, and obviously in your case is carried on.
Yes, definitely. It's been great to be a part of the next generation and to be able to pass that on to the next generation. I know that we're teaching some of the younger kids on how to measure out the rice and all of that. So it hopefully it'll be continued on in the future.
And your cousins, your cousins or your uncles or what have you, a lot of them are young, very, very young adults right now that's carrying on the kind of good fun, huh?
Oh yeah, and this year we even have some smaller hammers, so the kids, lighter hammers for the
Especially
kids to
made for
join
the
in.
kids, yeah.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, the hammers look the pounders or the hammers or the sledgehammer or whatever you want to call them. But that's made out of the how bush. I mean, the wood is spectacular.
Yeah, that's right. The handle is hardwood. We buy the axe or the handle we buy from the store, but the head we always use how. We try to get the little heavier, denser wood, how wood, but we always make several because how, as you know, is relatively soft, and if your aim is not that good and you happen to hit the side, then you damage it. So we always have several on hand. But so far, it's worked out really nice.
You want to take this opportunity to say hello out to some of your ohana all around the island and maybe your past students. You want to say good luck, Happy New Year, aloha?
Well, thanks a lot, Dickie. I certainly would. Happy New Year, happy holidays, and I wish everybody good health into the future.
And Raylene, we want to take this opportunity because I was hounding you all day to make sure that we can get an interview. But these are the kinds of things that we like to do because the public basically gets educated. And so maybe hopefully next year they can jump into any ohana's mochi pounding because this is truly an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that'd be great to share that with everyone because I think mochi pounding is a great experience and I really look forward to this.
Thank you once again to my very, very dear friends in Lihue, the Morikawa family. Happy New Year, haole makahikio to all of you and yours here in our garden island of Kauai. We're going to have to take a short break, but when we come back, we will have an opportunity to chat with our very dear friend, Valerie Taguma Kaneshiro, as she'll be tell us about the little bit of the Kaneshiro hog and pig farm itself. But as some of us may already know, the pig farm sadly will be closing, and it'll be closing somewhere around their 100-year anniversary here on our garden island Kauai. Don't go away, gang. Wala'au. We'll be right back.
Aloha, Randy Riggin here at King Auto Center. You folks in the market for a new vehicle, we got you covered. You're looking for a truck, all new Ram 1500. If you're looking for a fuel economy, all new 2019 Honda Insight, come on down, stop by. For my friends and family, come ask for Randy at King Auto Center. Be lifetime friends. Aloha.
Captain Andy's Sailing. Nobody has more fun. Captain Andy's, the ultimate sailing adventure.
Hey, welcome back, Kauai. Several years ago, we were talking about the Kauai-made products here in our garden island Kauai. We caught up with one of the original farmers on our garden island Kauai. The family dates back more than 100 years here in our garden island Kauai. That, of course, is the Kaneshiro family. Original roots there in the old Koloa camp, and of course, right up the mountain there at Omao. Now, we were sadly advised and heard through the news that the Kaneshiro Hoggery and Pig Farm will be closing at about the time of their 100-year anniversary. Now, Derwin and Valerie Taguma Kaneshiro actually runs the hog farm and the pig farm right now, but it's very, very tough work, and it was very sad to say that the business will not be continuing just shy of 100 years. We had an opportunity in the past to speak to Valerie to tell us a little bit about this very, very unique operation on our garden island Kauai that is closely tied in to agriculture. How is it tied in? Let's check out our very dear friend, Valerie Taguma Kaneshiro.
Kaneshiro Farms has been raising pigs. It started in this area here in Koloa town by the grandfather around 1920. So it's been almost 100 years that we've been raising hogs in this area. And this old style family store is near and dear to our heart, and to be here still, it means a lot to us.
Interestingly, when we look at the pig, or in this case the pork, every piece of, I guess what they call from snout to tail, is being displayed at this time. I wonder who knows how to make recipes for these particular types of cuts?
You know, in the olden days, every family knew how to cook every part of the pig. And then we lost that as families moved away from the farms and they started buying their meat in grocery stores. The families forgot how. But people trying to be sustainable now are teaching it more in the schools, you know, in the culinary arts, and more chefs are starting to cook whole hog cookery for restaurants.
I learned from older people and also through the customers and what they want. And I just try to provide what they want.
Because for the Kaneshiro farm, they will drop the hog off, they will drop the animal off, and basically it now becomes your responsibility to cut and break down the different parts of the animal. And does that take time? Or I mean, how long is it? I mean, is that probably an artist in the back that none of us get to see what you do?
It takes some time. Any quality work takes time. I would say at the most maybe like 45 minutes to complete the whole carcass.
You know, and when you say it takes time, because I just want to say and commend, you know, the presentation just looks really, really beautiful, coupled by the kawaii grown, you know, little sticker over here. Now that you're involved in the kawaii grown program, how have you seen the program help, in this case out the Kaneshiro farmers, as far as expanding and created more knowledge about local farmers right here producing top quality pork and hog here on the island?
Having a label, you know, an identity that is ours and identifies our product at the market was something a lot of farmers always wanted and never had before Kauai Farm Bureau started this program. And so it's allowed us to stand out in the meat case. So being a part of the program helps everybody involved because we're one of the larger farms, and it helps support all those smaller farms too. It was the older uncles that started the farm. Once they moved out of Koloa town here and out to the country of Omao, it was Uncle Seso and Uncle Sugar, folks that started farming the hogs way back in the 40s. And now Daryl is doing his sheep, and we just love to farm. And they've been that face in the community that people recognize Mamo and Daryl. And I've been there at the hog farm, so now I'm trying to get out more. And because we want to be there recognizable to people, we want them to feel comfortable calling us, and we like to be able to provide what they need for their party, you know.
So as far as your customers are concerned, you can come out flat out and just say, please know that the farmer is reliable, the meat cutter is reliable. When they're ready to get their baby luau, their party, or whatever they need for their needs, they can come to Suyoka and it'll be freshly packaged, professionally, beautiful, quality, and ready to go with kit glove care, in this case from Kelly Hadamo.
Yes. Also with special orders and custom cuts if they need to.
I've started buying more local ingredients. We already have the pork, but you know, anything local, whether it's the fresh greens, you know, or the shrimp or whatever it is that we're producing here on Kauai, because you know it just tastes better. I've learned to appreciate good taste as one of those simple pleasures of life that we can provide for our family is something that tastes good, that's grown locally and supports our island economy. It's just one of those things that I like to do now because it's good, a simple pleasure for raising our family. Yeah, it is. It's almost 100 years now. They say Grandpa started in 1920 commercially raising pigs in Koloa, and we're still not far from Koloa town raising pigs. But you know, I tell you, the small family farms are at risk. We're always struggling. You know, our facilities are old. Our abattoir, you know, our slaughterhouse is old, and we're old. So we're at risk, and so we do need to support, and that's what this group is about. We're supporting everybody. We need to support our fresh island pork. You know, there's a lot of challenge, you know, with the federal regulations now. It takes a lot of money to comply with the regulations. And so we are at risk. And right now, this is an opportunity where we can come out and enjoy the fresh island pork and enjoy the community and see people that we haven't seen for years, and just celebrate our community, our agricultural community that we have here on the west side.
Interestingly, we've chatted with you many times, and I remember you telling me a long time ago, people that actually used to cut up the pig that wasn't necessarily known as a butcher knew how to use exactly each and every piece of the pig or the hog. Then it went that they only wanted specialized parts of the hog, and now, what do they call that, from head to toe, something is being used one way or another.
It's wonderful how we come full circle, how we had gotten away from that whole pig cookery and now we're coming back. And that's all part of what we're trying to promote and what we're celebrating, and keeping that balance of the whole hog cookery and knowing how to take advantage of the whole pig. I think it's just wonderful.
Val Kaneshiro, I remember when we last caught up with you, it was at Suioka. I remember when you dropped off the hogs, that young talented butcher in the back used to take orders of the specialty pieces that they want. But I remember it brought a lot of joy to you, because when you would come back to the store, everything as far as Kaneshiro farm, Kauai grown pork was off the shelves, already sold. Take it.
Suioka stores, yes, they do a great job of marketing the whole hog. Ishihara Market's another one. I'd like to put a plug in, since you mentioned that, about the other markets like the Times store and the Big Saves that market our fresh island pork, because our pork really does taste better. Shameless plug, but it really does. And then we have to give a plug to the luau's. You have to have that live or a whole pig for the luau, so the luau attendees can see how you cook the pig in the imu. We've got the luau kalamaku at Kilohana, and Smith's is a big luau, wonderful luau. I love it. Tahiti Nui on the North Shore has a luau, and the Hyatt has a luau. It's just, and the Marriott Kukui's resort restaurant has a Friday
prime seafood pork buffet. I see that. Kaneshiro Farm. So you're going to say hello out to your friend Guy Higa.
Guy, that guy is good. Guy is good.
No pun intended. That guy, yeah? That brother guy, yeah?
Yeah, the pork is good.
And not necessarily, not to say you mentioned Tahiti Nui or Luau Kalamaku or Smith's or the Hyatt, of course, the Marriott. But needless to say, so many baby luau's, so many golden anniversaries, so many silver anniversaries, so many graduation parties. They call it Uncle Sugar, they call it you, they call it... By the way, I saw Mamo running around over here.
Yeah, still almost 90 years old. He go. Yes, he likes to help as much as he can. It's those luau's that the local families throw, where they're inviting 500 of their closest family and friends. That's where our big breeding stock goes to. The sows, those 500-pound sows, are going to feed the baby luau, and it's those luau's that really help keep our farm going, because we have to rotate our breeding stock. And as they get big and old, they have to go someplace, and so I appreciate that lifestyle that we have, that local country lifestyle.
Well, we can rest assured that we'll tell all of our friends out there, when they're ready to throw their luau, whether it's a commercial luau or it's a Ohana local family luau, we'll make sure that they buy 2 sows instead of 1, because everybody nowadays bring home doggy bag for the next morning. You just heat them up and you can mop.
That's why they take the sow, because they can get a lot of meat, feed a lot of people, and then they still have leftovers.
Well, Val Kaneshiro, we want to take this opportunity to thank yourself and your family for continuing to work so very, very hard. Things that up early in the morning, last one to sleep at night, first one to get up in the morning. But thank you for your generous contribution here, because as you probably know, your contribution and your donation helped the so many not-for-profits that are so vital here on not just the west side of the island of Kauai, but certainly island-wide.
I'd like to give a shout out to Obsessions and Dennis Okihara at Obsessions Cafe in Waimea. He did an excellent job with the roast pork.
Thank you once again to our very dear friend Valerie Taguma Kaneshiro and her ohana. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, I was very saddened to hear the news that the Kaneshiro hog farm and the pig farm will be closing. It's a very, very, very tough business. It's tough to continue on. They made it for 100 years, so monumental, but get well very, very soon, Valerie. Good luck to yourself, your family, all the best, and thank you for everything that you did here for Garden Land and Kauai. We're gonna take a short break. When we come back, we'll be speaking with the coordinator of our Save Our Shearwaters, Molly Bash, as she'll tell us about this past year's 2019 Save Our Shearwaters program here on our Garden Island of Kauai. Don't go away, gang. Wala'au. We'll be right back.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Tom Shigimoto, and I have been a member of the Chamber of Commerce for at least 25 years. I started with Mamo Cummings, and I really can't tell you how long ago that was, but it's been a while. Now, I am the co-chair of the Government Affairs Committee and have been for, again, maybe 10, 12 years. But the committee was formed to give something back to its members. You know, a lot of business owners don't have the time to keep up with legislation, laws, policies that the county and state governments always coming up with. So the Government Affairs Committee is another way that the Chamber adds value to your membership. So I encourage you all to join the Chamber if you have concerns, or even if you don't have concerns, just give the Chamber a call and we can certainly address what your needs are. One commonly asked question about the Government Affairs Committee is, well, what do you do? Well, we're basically an advocacy group where we advocate for our members with proposed legislation, again, either with the county or the state. We also are a sounding board for the mayor. We meet with the mayor every other month, and then also with the county council chair. And we go over issues that are either coming up or are being addressed at the county council meetings at that time, and we try to resolve it. And you know, these elected officials also want to use the Chamber Government Affairs Committee as a sounding board for its education and and knowledge. Once again, I'm Tom Shigimoto. I'm the co-chair of the Government Affairs Committee. If you have any questions, please call them. Aloha. Oh.
Welcome back, Kauai. Many of us are familiar with the program called Save Our Shearwaters. The Save Our Shearwater program is sponsored by our friends at the Kauai Island Utility Co-op, and we also want to let everybody know that the season begins in September 15th to December 15th. Here to tell us a little bit about the program is our brand new coordinator for Save Our Shearwaters, Molly Bash. And here Molly will tell us a little bit about the Save Our Shearwater program and, of course, the past season, 2019. Here's Molly.
So this peak season went really well. We had an awesome team. We've got I would say about 170 releases that have happened between September and December, which is great, solid numbers. The moons worked in our favor this year, which is a huge part of, which direction our season is going to go, because if all the shearwaters are heading out to sea at the time there's a new moon, we're going to have a lot more down birds.
So let's educate the public. When you mention moon, what is the significance of a moon in terms of a life of a newel shearwater?
Well, so in any shearwaters and petrels that are heading out to sea this time of year, but the newels, the wedgetails, the Hawaiian petrels, so they're following that big, glowing, bright ball in the sky out to sea, and that's how they're getting out there successfully. So whenever it's really stormy or whenever it's, super cloudy or something like that, or it's a new moon and there's no big ball to follow out to sea, they're much more likely to get distracted by artificial lights and things like that. So they're going to end up grounded more often.
The people of Kauai for, I would say, decades or more recently years, realizes that neighborhood lights or hotel lights or cruise ships, hotels go as far as letting their tourists know guests know to close their lights or draw their curtains, and everybody's done massive education as far as why the Newell shearwaters are important. Why are they important to this island?
Yeah, so I mean, well, the Newell shearwaters in particular were really the last major stronghold for this species. So, and I think there's a lot of pride in that too, you know, in our community, and I so appreciate everybody's involvement, you know, the organizations as well as just general public, because we're not able to do what we do without it, so first and foremost. But also, it's, you know, the Newell shearwater, it's estimated that over 90% of their remaining populations are breeding and raising chicks only on Kauai. So we are truly, you know, kind of responsible for the survival of the species, and it's a really important job, and it's a great thing we get to be a part of. But it is imperative, you know, that we're, you know, finding every bird we can, and we're getting them back out where they belong.
So tell us the gestation period, like albeit 60, 61 days, maybe just one egg per couple.
Yeah,
I mean, how does that work?
It takes a couple months. So pretty much the adults will start coming back to island in April, and then they're, you know, up till early summer, they're mating, breeding, and then they're raising a chick. So it's a single male and a single female are co-parenting a single egg each year. So it's not like, you know, a songbird or something where they have a whole nest of eggs to, you know, successfully fly away and stuff. It's, you know, every individual really counts because it's a big cooperative effort, and that's seen in, you know, the longevity of these species living over 25 years. So, you know, they put a lot of time and, you know, input into their babies and their chicks, and so, you know, it's important that these steps that we do and we take are really helping the survival of the species. It's, you know, it's not just a drop in the bucket. Each individual really matters.
So, Molly Betch, thank you. How do we pronounce pelagic or
Pelagic?
Pelagic. And
Yeah.
describe what is pelagic birds.
Yeah, so a pelagic bird is a bird that really lives at sea. So they're only coming on land to breed, raise chicks. So these guys, like we released a Laysan albatross this morning. That's a pelagic bird. These guys are just incredible, you know, forces of just morphologically, you know, all of their adaptations that they have to be able to live at sea are truly incredible, and it's you know, it's really interesting to learn more about this species. But it's yeah, birds that are living at sea for the most part. That's kind of the short answer.
and you know, their feet is not like a minor bird or a cardinal or somebody that the birds can bop.
Right.
Their feet are web feet that are in
Yeah, so they're placed behind them. They, if you ever see, we post release videos on our, you know, socials and stuff, and even on those, you can see as they're taking off how far back their legs are, and just kind of different morphologically they are, and that gives, you know, us a lot of new kind of constraints as rehabbers, because trying to keep a bird in care that's not meant to be on land, really, you know, we have to face issues with their feet, you know, as they're in crates and stuff. We take a bunch of precautions to make sure that we are impacting these guys, you know, as little as possible, and we're just able to treat the reasons why they came in to begin with.
Most local residents that own pets, you know, whether it's a horse, whether it's a guinea pig, whether it's a cat, whether it's a dog, what have you, you know, an animal lover will love animals in general, and many of them go as far as getting a nice, clean, dry cardboard box or perhaps a towel. This whole season between September 15th and December 15th, I never saw a shearwater on the ground. Now, it's not like I'm not out all the time, but earlier you had made mention that it was a good moon season.
Yeah.
So does that mean that because it was a good clear path that many of these birds were able to make it out to sea versus being distracted?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. So of course a lot of our island, you know, is not really recoverable, so we're not going to know about those areas. You know, there's still power lines and things that they may be getting into trouble with, but the hope is that yes, they are. The reason why our numbers were just slightly lower than normal is that, you know, we did have a good moon season, they did have better direction, and they weren't hitting peak fledge whenever we had new moons or really stormy skies.
And Molly, is there somewhere on this island of Kauai that you know will resemble the majority of the colonies, like perhaps North Shore, West Side? I mean,
yeah. So I mean, the Newell shearwaters, we those guys are all up in the mountains, so deep, you know, Nepali and Limahuli Preserve and or like Upper Peninsula. So they're pretty far up there. As far as our wedge-tailed shearwaters go and whatnot, though, those guys are more coastal. So, you know, on the east side at night, if you go, you know, Hukilau-Lanai at night and you're walking out on the path, you'll see them all swooping in the fall and feeding chicks and everything. So they're a bit more accessible. But as far as the Hawaiian petrels and the Newell shearwaters go, they're definitely deep up in the mountains.
so for diehard ornithologists or whatever the people are known as that studies birds, Do you guys sometimes go out into the mountains or the colonies and just listen to these birds at night?
Oh my goodness, I got to go out in the field for my first time ever this year, and it was the most magical experience because I have never really seen these guys in their natural habitats because, of course, they're few and far between and it's hard to get up there. But I was able to go out and help Kesser, Kauai Endangered Seabird Recovery Project, and that was a really incredible. I have like goosebumps just thinking about it because, I see these guys, they're coming in and they're sick and debilitated, they're underweight, whatever it may be that's bringing them into care. And so to be able to see healthy fledglings thriving up in the mountains is incredible. But yeah, you can, even I went to Polahali this summer to go camping and, laying down looking at the stars, and I heard Newell's shearwaters flying over me, and that was a really cool experience
Chicken
too.
skin again. Huh?
Yeah,
Consequently,
legitimately.
I can see you.
I get really excited. They're just really awesome animals and so worth protecting.
It's so funny because people in your field, over the years, I always ask somebody if they could emulate or imitate a bird, but you know the distinct sound,
Yeah.
but nobody can imitate it.
No, they're truly like donkeys is the best way I can put it. We call them donkeys of the sea. But there are vocalizations online, but I must say they do it far better than anybody that I've heard.
So prior to being the program coordinator and manager,
Yeah,
you were in charge of rehabilitation.
correct.
So, it is recommended if someone gets a bird to turn it into the fire department, don't touch the bird because for the naked eye,
Yeah.
we don't know what might be the injury to the bird. And
Right.
if somebody tries to help the bird, they're probably going to be harming it more than helping it.
Yeah, it's just best case scenario. We're always available, and we're here, and this is our job, and it's what we're good at. And it's so why not? If you want to give the bird the best chance, send it our way because we take blood on everything at intake to figure out their care plan. There's a lot that goes into rehabilitation, more than what meets the naked eye. And like a good example of that is just the fact that over, I think it was like over 0.5% for sure. I think it was around 60% of the birds that came down September 15th through December 15th had to come back for rehabilitation. So, if people, and that's a bit more than normal. Normally we do have some, more direct releases, but I think with the flooding a little bit that we had in the summer and spring, and we had some more contamination than normal and a bit more underweight birds, that kind of thing. So those are birds that could look like healthy, normal birds to people. But, the fact that we're able to get their waterproofing 100% before sending them out to sea and things like that, that's giving them a chance that they very well could have not likely had. So it's definitely, your best bet to give us a call on the hotline. We always have it. I answer that thing at 4 a.m. and all the resorts can attest to that. And it's, so 635-5117. If you find any bird, that's definitely the route to go.
Well, sometimes when we see the black and white bird, it reminds of a penguin, but it has a lot of similarities in terms of being able to dive, hold their breath,
They're incredible.
live in very cold weather. And can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so these guys, they're foraging at depths of over 150 feet sometimes. So if you just think about this is a small bird, and the fact that seeing them move underwater and how they use those wings just like fins to just get down there and forage efficiently, it's really incredible. Their dive response and their respiration and all of that, efficiency is really incredible.
And that's why when the humans pick it up, some people might not know, but they have lotion on their hands or they have sunscreen on their hands, and that can penetrate the feathers and consequently.
Yeah, so we have to be really careful because, of course, it's super mosquito-y out here, and we're at wash pad a lot because that's a huge part of our job is cleaning and stuff, and we'll put on bug spray and things like that, and we always have to be really careful to make sure we wash all that off before we handle birds because anything is a potential contaminant. And a lot of times, think about it, these guys are found on grounded on roadways. They could have been grounded like next to telephone poles, something like that. And you just think of cars and oil and all the little things that are collecting on the cement. All of that can really contaminate their feathers too. So, we're able to do full washes on birds if they need it. Luckily, with our rehabilitation pools, these guys are able to fix up their feathers and preen and do everything they need to fix them themselves. But giving them that opportunity before heading out to sea is really pivotal for their survival because, they wouldn't have the ability to, get soaking wet and be wet to skin and potentially, they would be hypothermic out in the wild. But here we're able to put them in a dry pen, make sure, we're monitoring their temperatures, all of that, and then pool them again. And it gets better through poolings and over time. So we're able to give them those steps they need to be successful once they do make it out.
And Molly, I do remember asking, you know, like for an animal lover or a pet lover, it's like the bird comes down, you rehabilitate the bird, you're spending hours and days and months and weeks and all of this, that, and that. And I used to think when you had to release it to the wild, it would be like a little bit of a sad story. But in your case, this is all jubilation.
Yeah, straight jubilation. That's a great word for it. It's so exciting, and just being in the field of rehab, and you know, these guys are meant to be in the wild, and the ability to give them a second chance at that is just, you know, you have to look past what makes you feel good and look at what's best for the population and what's best for the animal. And that animal is going to be living its best life at sea, or living its, you know, wherever it is going back in the wild. Maybe it's up at the refuge if it's waterfowl, any of that. But we're nothing but excited to get them back out where they belong.
And how weird, explain to the viewing audience, outside of Mother Nature, how the heck after 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years bopping around in the ocean, when they finally decide to mate or to nest, how do they literally come back to
their natal colonies? It's really impressive. So they're coming back to the locations where they hatched from and were, you know, raised and headed out. It's honestly, these pelagic seabirds are still such a mystery to us, and we're continuously learning. We facilitate, you know, different organizations, research projects, grad students and whatnot, because we're some of the only people in the world that actually even have these birds in hand. So, and that's why we do morphometrics and everything on them whenever we do, so we can share that information and learn more about their species. But yeah, as far as that goes, their direction is truly incredible, and it's something that is still being studied, but that's what's shown time and time again, is that they are coming back to those natal colonies.
So there's not a lot of people that do what you do passionately. I can hear a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of excitement. What gets you going with this program?
I love the SOS program, and it is very near and dear to my heart and always will be. I will say that this program is really where my love of seabirds actually really started and grew. I mean, I've always been interested in seabirds, but I was more of a mammal person in the past with rehab. That was just more of my specialty and what I was well versed in. And being able to handle these birds up close and see their cultural significance as well, you know, and that's something I really respect living here. And just being able to conserve these populations I feel just so incredibly lucky to play a part in that. And I don't know, I'm not sure. It's just a passion I can't quite put a finger on, but I've always wanted to work with wildlife. I've always wanted to work with animals, and that's just kind of been my driving mission for myself. And so I feel very fortunate to be able to do that here.
Well, you know, on that flip side, with all that passion, it must saddens you extremely when it's told or reported that, you know, a colony perhaps got wiped out with, you know, wild feral cats or loose dogs or what have you. Like when we read about it at different parts of the island and somebody reports it, that's full-on tragic.
It is. And I try not to, you know, it's really easy to get, I think, and our field's already such a, you know, it can be an emotional and just stressful field at times. There's a lot going on. We see, you know, wildlife rehab is just a range of just very, it can be just a stressful, emotional field at times. There's, you know, you're dealing with lives at the end of the day. So in those situations, I really just try to take it for what it is, not add any other negative energy to it. You know, don't let myself get bummed out, because at the end of the day, that's not going to help anything. And just kind of growing and learning and trying to facilitate and help make the changes that will keep it, you know, preventing happening again. So that's where I try to direct my energy in those times. And I'm, you know, working with DOFA and KESERP and whatever organizations I need to, so that, you know, we're taking the correct measures to prevent it from happening again in the future. Working with, you know, the State Forestry and Wildlife Department and Kauai Endangered Seabird Recovery Project, these organizations that are so pivotal to preventing these, you know, instances from happening again. And I just really try to make sure that we're all sharing, you know, information in the ways that we need to take the best measure for these native birds.
I would just imagine that there's not a lot of people that do what you folks do. So while you crisscross with these other departments, you guys got to be pretty good friends. You guys got a lot of things in common that you could talk about, discuss about, and perhaps only, I mean, you guys are just turned on to this whole lingo and
people call us the bird people. No, but it's so true. All the conservation organizations here, and that extends into like native plants and whatnot too. Not just birds, and it's just birds because that's the majority of our native species. If we had native mammals and whatnot, I'm sure we'd all be nerding out about that too. But yeah, especially with these guys, I would say we are a very kind of close-knit group, and we all really respect each other's work, and we know how difficult it is, and we're all working holidays, and not. It's just
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 3 o'clock. Answering those phone calls, and it's just we all just really care, and so that's an awesome common ground to have with people that you work with and are friends with.
And for the benefit of the viewing audience, you can never judge a book by its cover, because Molly Bash here on Kauai is actually a graduate of Texas A&M Agriculture and Mechanics, and then also from the big city of Houston. So you're hot, humid Houston,
right?
Fourth largest, third largest city in the US of A, and you come to this island of 72,000 people. That must be a stoker, huh?
I love it here. Like I said, I feel very lucky to be able to do this work out here in a place that I would consider kind of my dream environment to be able to do it. So, I try to give back to the community as much as I can, and a large part of that is through our work, but also, through other marine conservation organizations and things like that.
So, and again, if you just joined us, I'm here with Molly Bash. She's our coordinator for our Save Our Shearwater SOS program. Want to just say thank you again, and can you leave us with that hotline number? And do you work, is this a year-round job for you?
Yes, yeah. So we've got 3 people year-round, and then we have 4 additional full-time staff members in season to help mitigate fallout and check all the aid stations and do everything we got to do to get those birds out to sea. But yeah, you can always give us a call if you find any grounded birds, have any questions about the native wildlife you are seeing, or if it may be injured or not, trying to figure out if it needs help. You can always give our hotline a call. It's 808-635-5117.
Okay, and then I'm just going to leave you this one last question. If there's 2 incredible things that we don't know about Newell Shearwaters or the Save Our Shearwater program, let the viewing audience know 2 things that would blow their mind that they never knew about shearwaters.
Well, I know I said this quickly earlier, but I'm going to revisit 2 of the things I said, because I really think that it's something that people don't know about the species. So, first and foremost, the fact that these small birds, are able to dive and forage at over 150 feet deep, I feel like really gives them some oomph as a bird and as a species, especially to people that might not, they're like, oh, birds. That's a huge dive depth, certainly more than I can dive, and I've, speckled and free diving, but I am nowhere near that amount. And then also, I think it's just really important to remember the fact that it's 2 individuals co-parenting, at max 1 egg each year, because I think that really goes to show how important these numbers are and how important it is for every individual to get the help that it needs if you do find one.
Thank you once again to Molly and her staff, and thank you to everybody that made our Save Our Shearwater program a huge success in informing the people of the real importance of saving the shearwaters here in our garden island Kauai. We're going to have to take a short break, but don't go away, gang. Vala'au, we'll be right back. Vala.
Healthier is quality care close to home. Healthier is state-of-the-art facilities and the largest and best team of doctors on Kauai. It's specialty care and caring in a special way. Healthier is Kauai's only comprehensive bone and joint center, with expertise in joint replacement, hands, feet, ankles, and sports medicine. Wilcox Health, creating a healthier Hawaii.
Aloha, my name is Crystal Yap here at King Auto Center. I am the Internet Sales Coordinator. If you don't have time to come into the dealership, please feel free to inquire online. I am able to answer any emails, send over quotes, get you basically approved and ready to go, so that way by the time you get into our dealership, you just test drive and sign some paperwork. Once again, my name is Crystal Yap, and I'm looking forward to serving you here at King Auto Center. Please visit us at www.kingautocenter.com.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Vala'au. We'd like to sincerely thank each and every one of you for watching Vala'au and making us a part of your weekend and week out festivities here in our beautiful garden island Kauai. As we approach and as we speak the 2020 year, everybody be safe, be prosperous. The main thing is to take care of your family, your friends, the neighbors, the malahini, and of course our health. That's the important things about being here in our garden island Kauai. Be careful on the roads, be careful along the mountains, just be kind and be nice to everybody here, your friends, your neighbors, and of course the malahini. It is time for us to heli on. As always, let's all continue to take care of our families, our friends, the neighbors, the malahini and aina, and we'll check you guys out next week. Only, haole makahiki ho. on Wala.
Wala